I want to say thank you to John and to the Corridor Business Journal for the great reporting that they do and for putting on events like these that help build a sense of community among business leaders in our corridor. Before I expand on a couple of the ideas that I shared, I just want to say how much I love being part of UnityPoint Health, a mission-driven, community-focused healthcare organization. I am so proud every day of the work that our team members do to take care of our patients and of our community, and especially during times of difficulty and crisis. You know, that's why it's so important to me and our entire leadership team to focus on trying to create a great place to work. We all spend so much time at work. We want to have it be a good place, a place where people feel valued and feel driven by a sense of purpose. You know, clearly the construct between employer and employee has shifted some in the last couple of years. It feels different, doesn't it? But there are certain principles and practices that I think remain bedrock. For us, effective communication is one of those, and we try very hard for our communication to be authentic, open, honest. It's important for us to be timely, to share both the good news and the bad news. If we're uncertain about something, we say that. We don't try to paint a different kind of picture. If we're sad or unhappy or worried, we share that too. And we absolutely like to share good stories. In fact, I think the sharing of stories is one of the best ways to help build a strong culture down the stretch. To that end, every Friday I share what we call a story to share with our team members, and those come to me from patients and families. They come to me from other team members who have observed their colleagues owning the moment, one of our core values when it comes to making a difference for patients and families. These are all great stories, and some of them absolutely leap off the page. And you know, we don't get it that right every time, but I really think that the stories go a long way in helping us demonstrate what's most important, what matters most when it comes to serving our patients and families. Now I'd like to speak a little bit more from a personal perspective. You know, I'm often asked by young women in particular with lofty career ambitions how it is they can also have a family and work-life balance and all of those kinds of things. And I'm often tempted to say what I really think, which is, I don't know. But I often instead, you know, choose a couple of stories to tell, one from my own life and one powerful insight from a book by Deborah Spar, who was a speaker at a WLC, then Iowa Women's Leadership Conference many years ago. So first, let me tell my story from my personal perspective. In 2002, after a long and difficult journey, our first child arrived. By then, my husband had finished his PhD. That was a long path as well. And I'd been working full-time for 8 years, advancing steadily, but not in any sort of dramatic fashion. I remember thinking a lot at that time about what would come next. What would my next job be? What would his next job be? Where would we live next? But then our son arrived, and one day during my maternity leave with him sleeping on my chest, I remember thinking, what's the rush really? Why am I always so worried about what comes next? Now, I'm not suggesting I became a fundamentally different person that day, but in that moment, I was definitely very clear that most all of the living that we do should be done in the present, not in the past, and not in the future. Now that was my thoughtful revelation on becoming a mother, and I'd like to bring forward some harder hitting advice from that author, Deborah Spar, as well. And I quote, "We need to stop trying to be so damn perfect, especially in those areas like cupcake making and nursery decoupage, where to be honest, the stakes are pretty low. You know, there's a lot of things I'm not very good at. I'm not good at home decorating, not good at shopping for clothes, not good at remembering to send birthday cards." So that quote was a huge relief for me. In fact, it meant so much to me when I read it that I dog-eared that page, and I've referred to it again and again over the years. The author, Spar, goes on to remind us that in its non-diluted meaning, feminism was and is about expanding women's roles and choices, about freedom to participate with men in work and in life as equals, and about using our minds and talents and our energies as we desire. It's not about exhausting yourself in pursuit of perceived perfection, but rather being able to choose to do what's important to you and to you alone. So if that happens to be cupcakes, you go get it. And if it's not, don't sweat it, not even for a second. Thanks so much for the opportunity to visit with you this evening.